Hey guys, Derek Marso here with Valley Farm Market and Behind the Smoke. Sean is in Bulgaria, so this is the first time I've ever done an episode of Behind the Smoke by myself. So we pulled in the heavyweights to come in and give you guys the best show we can give you. We are excited that our friend Chad Ward is here from Traeger Grills. He's a director of marketing, and he's all the way. You're at Florida?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's in Florida. He came all the way out here, spending some time, and we've tried to get him on the podcast a few times, try to get him over at the MBBQA, and, now here we are. So welcome, and thank you so much for shooting the shit with us today, man.
Hey, bro. Great to be here.
Yeah, we're happy we could fill you up with some of your pokey and your tri-tip and your beans. So welcome. And we actually, we pulled some of our listeners, and they have a lot of questions for you. So
sure.
We're going to probably start off with some of those questions and kind of just shoot the shit. And this episode's going to come out on 4th of July. So if anyone's listening, they can kind of get some tips and go over what they want to do. But and we'll give a shout out to Sean listening in Bulgaria. Hopefully he's having fun. He'll be back the week after, and we'll go from there. But we have Mike Sally 619 wanted to ask, what is the best wood to use for brisket?
I would say for brisket, it's funny, we were talking about this off air a
Right.
second ago. Brisket's that big cut of meat, so you want to season it really well, and you want to put something that's going to stick to it. So I would stay away from the fruit woods, the apples, those kind of things. I don't think that's going to work for beef in a bigger cut like that. I would tend more to go for your hickories, your oaks, your post oaks. Not a huge fan of mesquite unless you really kind of know what you're doing. It can overpower the meat pretty quick.
It can get pretty bitter pretty quick.
And that's one thing, when it comes to anything that I try to always preach in classes, etc., is all you're doing with smoke, seasoning, sauces is elevating the meat. And you should never cover it up. It should never overpower it. It should never change what it is.
Right.
It's just, I kind of call it the high heels and the lipstick. It just makes the meat a little prettier. You know what I mean?
No, absolutely. Absolutely. I think people get lost and don't understand that brisket is a weight-bearing muscle.
Yep.
So it's a huge muscle that's used all the time to propel the animal. And when it's used, you have to break that brisket down. And like you said, we were talking about it before, breaking down the briskets, you're 90% of doing it right.
Yep.
It's the temperature. It's not necessarily the wood all the time, but it's how you're going through the process. And, some people like to, take the decal out and then they'll wrap the flat and the point and do different things to it. And, for us, we've kind of saw that simplicity is a big, big thing for our briskets.
Yep.
And not trying to do too much and overwhelm the cut, and just taking it off at the right temperature helps us out. So that's kind of our take on brisket as well. Just not making, the wood itself isn't the biggest drive. It's the way you're doing it.
Absolutely. Yeah, the process.
Yeah. So we have another question for you. It's what from Ms. Ark, I guess that's Mark, making sweet and hot pork ribs. Do you use a hot rub, sweet rub, and why?
For me, I usually go the aspect of a sweet rub with a spicier sauce if you want the two to go. Mm-hmm. One, you're going to get a little better color because the sweet rub's going to have a little bit of sugar in it. As long as it's like a turbinado sugar and not a fine grind sugar, it's going to give you that nice kind of brownish mahogany caramelization look. And then I think you can control the heat better with sauce than you can with rub, because as you cook it, even with ribs, 4.5, 5 hours, the strength of that spice is going to dull out a little bit. So I think if you're really going for the spicy, put it on at the sauce level and get your sweet at the rub level.
Are you doing baby backs or are you doing spare?
When I cook at home, I do baby backs. Yeah. When I'm competing, obviously it's spares cut down into St. Louis.
Right.
The one thing I will say too, if you go down that baby back route, is I always make sure, sometimes you have some of that loin meat kind of left on there. I always make sure and shave that down to even so that you've got a nice juicy bite, right? Because if you don't, that loin meat's just sitting out there drying out the whole cook.
It's definitely a lean piece of meat,
yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, so that's just one little tip I'd throw out there also.
What got you into cooking with Traeger? How'd that all come about?
So it came about right after Jeremy Andrus and the venture capital company bought Traeger.
Which was how long ago?
So about 4.5 years.
Okay.
So probably 9 months into that, running a guy named Denny Bruce, which is our number 2 guy at Traeger, Senior Vice President of Sales Marketing. And just got to talking. He told me what they were doing with the brand and how they were going to, kind of take it on and what some of their thoughts were. And did I want to be a part of it? First off, they wanted to know if I would be open to carrying Traeger in the store. And then, hey, would you like to, be part of our pro team? And we're going to start this whole shop class thing. Love for you to be a part of it. Sure. And then did that year and a half. And then 2 years ago, they created this Director of BBQ Marketing role. And I was kind of burnt out on the software business. And, why not go? I'm super fortunate to get to work for a brand that I love, doing what I love. And then just, the community that we have as folks that cook on Traeger is getting to kind of manage that and spearhead that, right. On the barbecue side of it is just awesome, to be able to help people become better at barbecue, but then also allow them a platform to share their passion and meet other people with, like interest.
Yeah. For me, it was really cool to see the shift in Traeger once that happened. The support people got, and we talked about it a little bit. We touched before we were on air, but the added value you can give a consumer is the biggest thing you want to do.
Yes.
So when they came in, you can tell by having guys like you that are doing it all, they're giving their consumer an added value. You're talking to the people. Your foot on the ground, boots on the ground, going, talking, doing cooking classes, showing everybody everything. I mean, that's what's important because that consumer is going to become more vested in what you're doing.
I completely agree with you. And that's, it's one of the things that, when Jeremy tells a story about why did he buy the company, he said, I've done due diligence on a ton of consumer product group brands, he said, but I kept hearing over and over when we would interview owners that they would say, dude, this product changed my life. Right. This product changed my life. It changed the way I gather with my family. It changed the way I interact with my friends. And he's like, dude, nobody says that about a consumer product. And so when you make that investment in the brand, that's the thing you want to drive even more home. You know what I mean? Is making sure people still feel that value and that love. And it is changing people's life in a positive manner,
Yeah, there's nothing more important than breaking bread.
No.
When you're with somebody and people that you care about, and, I always talk about Traeger and people are like, is it a good smoker? Is it bad? I'm like, look, it does its job. It's phenomenal for the backyard smoking.
Yep.
I mean, it's absolutely great where you can go outside, put on your brisket, put on your pork butt, put on whatever you want to, click it, forget about it, or, obviously come back and tend to it as much as you want, but you can have it set at a time. You can come back, serve great food, and everyone's just like, wow, that was awesome.
And you get to enjoy your company that way, too. You're not
Absolutely.
Up all night throwing a log every 45 minutes, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sometimes, I grew up on a stick burner, you know what I mean? And a lot of times, man, they get to the party time, and you're just like, crashed out on the couch and everybody's eating, wanting to tell you how good it is, and you're just like, dude, can I get a 30-minute nap here real quick and try to rally back?
And no one understands. Like, my mom would always be like, hey, do you want to come over? And, like, I would cook, I would do all this stuff, I'd be working and getting all this food ready, and they're like, come and enjoy. I'm like, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely beat. It's been 13 hours of just getting up and making sure everything's perfect and making sure the temperatures are right and doing that. And, having a Traeger, when we bought the Com 200, it was a great thing to be able to just say, okay, here's our ribs.
Yep.
They're on at this time. They're going to come off at this time. And it was great for us to be able to take them off and have a consistent product that, that worked for us and worked for my employees to understand, biggest thing for us is consistency.
Sure.
And if you don't have that in a barbecue restaurant, you're going to be out of business really, really quick.
It will definitely hurt you. People get used to, hey, I'm coming in, this is my favorite item, and it's hard to have off days.
Are you still doing competitions?
Man, I if I ever had time, I would love to. I've only done one this year, and it was actually we were filming the new infomercial for Traeger at it, so wasn't really 100%.
Right.
Focused on it. Finished mid-pack. It was nothing to be proud of.
Right.
But no, I would love to, it's kind of hard. I mean, I've done competition now for 11 years. The last 2 years, not a bunch because of being so busy with Traeger, but it's also like competition world's always going to be there, dude. These kind of cool opportunities with a brand like this aren't always, you don't know how long they're going to be. So you got to kind of, do your job and enjoy it as much as you can. And, hopefully the comp world will still be there when I get more free weekends. But for now, I would love to do more, but it's not worth, I'm really enjoying what I get to do with Traeger.
I think that's important for people to grasp.
Yeah.
It's when opportunity presents itself, you have to be ready to jump on
Sure.
it. And, we talk about all the time how people are stuck behind a desk doing something that they don't really care about, or, driving to work, white knuckling the fucking wheel because you're so mad that you have to do another fucking day at this job. And when the opportunity presents itself to do something that you love, you have to take advantage of it because you don't, like you said, you don't know when it's not going to be there. And if you didn't jump on it, you'd be still doing not to say you hated what you did, but you definitely don't love it as much as what you're doing now.
No, and even for me, I mean, I walked away from a ton of money in the software business to so I don't like doing the math on how much, but for me, it was kind of like, it's not a game of who dies with the most money. Right. You know what I'm saying? It's what experiences have you had? What legacy will you leave? Those kind of things that really matter to me when you kind of look at it when it's all said and done. How many lives can you impact? Yeah. That type of stuff. And I just didn't know that, rolling out RFID software systems was impacting that many people's lives. You know what I mean?
No, absolutely.
But, hey, if you can teach a handful of people to cook good brisket, you've done all right. You know what I mean?
The smile on people's faces when you get done. And we get it a lot here where you're teaching the customer how to do it.
Yep.
And I think that's important for people. Like, don't hold everything so close chested, right? No, I want to explain and show you, but I want you to mess up. I want you to mess up a few times to understand that it's sensitive, but I can see them when they start walking down the aisle and they're looking at me and they have a smile on their face. I'm like, oh, you fucking nailed something.
Yep.
What did you do? They come back to that fucking tri-tip. I did what you said and it was so much better than this. There's nothing more valuable for me, or it excites me so much rather than just a transactional quick dollar thing. Yep. It's about that feel.
Man, I'll tell you what, we have the same mantra with our businesses because when you look at Whiskey Man Barbecue Supply, how do you compete with Amazon? You know what I'm saying? People could probably go buy everything that's in my store on Amazon. We're not a transaction-based business. We're a relationship-based business.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We want people to come in, grab a cold beer, sit down, tell me what you're cooking this weekend. Let me throw some new rubs at you to try. You know what I'm saying? Everything we have is open.
Added value.
So you can taste every rub. You can taste every sauce. That type of thing to where, hey, you know what I mean? My customers have my phone number, and just will text me on a Saturday like, hey, man, I talked to Danny at the store, and he walked me through brisket, but I kind of forget this part. Like, dude, here's what you want to do, and that's customer for life. You know what I mean? Because that's a relationship now, and a solid one, and not just a transaction. So I completely agree with that. Another quick thing about teaching, I got to give props to the guy I consider to be kind of the godfather of barbecue in Florida, a guy named Rub Bagby from Swamp Boys. Rub was a great mentor to me when I started, still a dear friend and a great mentor. And I remember going over to him, and he would never give it to you straight out till he started. I went to his first class he ever did, one of the greatest decisions I made. But before that, he would always say, well, tell me what you're doing. And so I'd walk him through my cooking process, and he would go, well, hey, why don't you try this next time? I never give you more than two things at the most. But it was all because he wanted you to see. One, he wanted to make sure you were doing it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Two, he wanted you to see the progression of, hey, it's going to take 3 or 4 practice cooks to really get this dialed in, and kind of set that mindset with you. And dude, it's something I take to this day, and it's kind of how I try to help people. If they say, I'm not going to give you my whole competition brisket program, but if you're struggling, tell me what you're doing, and I may take one of the steps that's been really successful with me and share it with you,
Yeah, no, it's awesome. I mean, we're talking about pretty much the same thing because it's very, very cool to see just that progression. Instead of wanting to do the best brisket ever and have the best brisket, trust the process.
Yep.
Understand that the process is the best part about it.
Yeah.
It's making a shitty brisket, to making a mediocre brisket, to making a phenomenal one, and then going back and like, fuck, I made a perfect one. Now I fucked up again. What did I do wrong?
Yep.
But you have to trust that process. And once you start doing that, that's where your education comes in. That's where you start to learn, and you start to say, okay, brisket isn't really a temperature thing. It's a feel thing. You got to make sure you feel that thing and make sure it's.
I always call it that room temp butter test.
Yeah.
You leave a stick of butter out for a couple hours on a table, take your Thermopen and put it in there, and you get that kind of slide through and a little bit of resistance in the middle. That's perfect because you want that little bit of resistance there because you want that, for that next 3-4 degree carryover cook when you pull it off. It should be perfect.
Right.
No, I agree. And I think another place where people, I do also believe, I try to teach everybody to be able to cook with what they can afford. But if you're ever going to splurge on a piece of meat, the difference in prime and choice on brisket or, Wagyu, is hands down. And I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, you guys are like fortunate out here. I know you can pick up prime brisket sometimes for $3.54 a pound, which is we don't have that luxury in Florida.
Right.
And, to me, it's just worth that extra 75 cents or $1 a pound because you're starting with a better product, And
you have to understand too that the cooking times are a little bit different on this too, especially with the Wagyu. It's for us, the intermuscle marbling cooks a lot faster.
Oh yeah,
so you have to make sure that you're sensitive to that.
Completely agree. Once all that fat gets hot, it's like it's its own little inferno inside, and it just cooks quicker.
Yeah, it cooks a lot quicker. So people that don't understand or don't know or aren't educated on the difference between choice and prime, one of the big things is choice is the top 20%, prime's the top 2%.
Yep.
So you can have a choice. If it's still grading choice, but it's on that bottom echelon of choice, there's a big variance between that choice and the prime. Prime being the top 2%, with the pH balance in the rib section grading that high. I mean, you're going to get a pretty consistently good product all the time. Yeah. And it's, like you said, when you have those, the taste, the texture, everything, for lack of a better term, how creamy it feels when you it's like, man, it's just a big, big difference. If you have the luxury of paying a few extra bucks a pound and your brisket's 12 pounds, so you're paying an extra $25, I really suggest doing that, making sure that you're starting with the best product you know how to.
Especially if it's a birthday party or anniversary or something, man. Don't be that guy.
And it's even in the seasonings you use.
Yes. Yep.
We always talk about taking quality seasonings. Gene Goycochea was big on that. He's like, look, stop starting with shit. It's not going to work if you make sure you're using the better ingredients, and that's what's going to happen in it. We do that with tri-tip as well. It's like, man, you can really taste the difference, and it's really important to make sure that you're doing all those things if you can, if you can afford it.
Even if it's, even if, you're on a limited budget and you're making your own rubs, just take the steps, make sure you seal them back up tight. Make sure you're keeping them in a dry, dark place so you don't have any of the UV exposure. Those type of things that are just simple enough, depending on what quality, regardless of what quality you're starting with. But to me, I look at it too as having a store, people come in, $8 for a rub, and it's like, yeah, but you're going to have to use a third as much of this rub because it is so fresh, because it is pretty potent. You don't have to go heavy like you would with some salt first,
right?
Regular off the store type rub,
Do you guys have an e-commerce site?
We do, yeah. Whiskey Bent BBQ Supply.
Okay.
We actually just dropped a great shirt on there for 4th of July.
Shit, I got to pick one up.
I can get you one out here.
Where is it? At your website?
Yeah. Whiskey Bent BBQ Supply.
Okay.
We actually are right in the middle of, it's up, operational, doing well, but here in the next probably 2 weeks, you'll see kind of a complete facelift. So one of the things, to kind of switch gears on the entrepreneurial side of things a little bit, and I'd love to get your take on this, but I've really gotten to the point now with the way everything's kind of growing and as busy as life's getting is you really have to kind of sit down and do kind of a self-evaluation. What am I really strong at? What's my team really strong at? And where do we have holes? Mm-hmm. And one of the ones I identified was just creativity.
Right.
I have a ton of great ideas, but I just needed someone to work with to be able to say, hey, convert this idea and thought into this image or into this hat or into this shirt. And went out, found somebody, contract basis, hey, here's the deliverables, here's what you're going to get paid. One of the best, I think sometimes when we start these brands, it's our name, you know what I mean? So we get so super protective of it, and you should. But at the same time, for that business to continue to grow, sometimes you've got to go get some outside help. Just in some areas you're not strong in. Doesn't mean you're not a great leader. Doesn't mean you don't have a great brand. You can't be all things to all people. So know your strengths, play to them, and then your weaknesses, find people that it's their strength and bring them on board and work with them.
Yeah, for us, for the branding and marketing, I was really good at it, but I didn't know how to implement it.
Yeah.
Right? So I had these fucking ideas, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, I can't draw. I don't know how to use a computer. I don't know how to do all that stuff to Photoshop to make it work exactly the way I want it. How can I do it? And like what you said, I got a person that was really, really excited. I actually went on Craigslist and looked for a few people and found someone that was just fresh out of college and was thirsty. They wanted to do something. Had her come out. We went over ideas, told her what I wanted. She made a few things. I'm like, that wasn't my vision. Let's try this. And then once she understood me, it just took off.
Yep.
And it's important, like you said, to be okay with a few changes and make things fresh and exciting. And because people want to be excited. We do different hats all the time. We do stuff that's floral pattern for Hawaii. We do stuff that's, we have a fishing crew and a hunting crew, because I do a lot of hunting and fishing that people want to be a part of. Now all of a sudden I have people that are marketing for me.
Yep.
They're out hunting. They're taking pictures of their shirt, wanting me to put it on social media. They're putting it on their social media, but they're proud of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a brand. They're so proud to be a part of that. And it's important to make sure you're getting out of your own way. It's not like, well, it's not broke, don't fix it. I don't believe in that.
No,
we can make things better. But it's finding those people that are better than you. We talked about it before. It's, if I'm the best at everything in my business, I'm doing something wrong.
Yep.
I have to hire people. Like I have my assistant, Abby, who we talk about a lot in this podcast, but she's absolutely fucking amazing. And she has a very sick mind when it comes to AP and AR. I'm good at it. I can do it. I fucking don't like it, right? I don't want to fucking write the checks.
Yep.
I don't want to have to worry about balancing and all that.
Yep.
I want to know where my checkbook's at, where we're at, what our purchases are, but I don't want to do that. But she loves it.
Yep. You want that one pager that you're looking at each day, but not wanting all the transactions that create that one page.
Yeah, and she soaks it up, but she's better than me at that. Mm-hmm. I have Kat, who's our general manager now, that's doing just amazing things with our beverages and stuff that I didn't really even understand. I had to get out of my own way.
Yep.
Right? I had to let her go.
Yep.
Give her some, and then what happens? Now she's even more vested in it. She wants to be a part of it. She's proud of it. She's excited, and it's like all that does is create a work environment that everyone wants to be a part of.
Yeah,
because they're happy to come to work.
And the other thing too, that I've learned about that is, you can't just say, "Hey, I'm letting you do this." You got to empower them,
right?
And give them a little bit of ownership of, "Hey, man, this is you. This is yours to handle."
Right.
And if you've hired the right people, man, pride will take over.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they've got their fingerprints all over it. They want it to be the best it can be, and exactly what we talked about. So I think that's another key cog to it also is you can't just say, "Hey, I want you to take care of this." You got to actually empower people and entitle them to get it done.
I think it's big, and I think it's important to make sure that you're looking out for their growth too.
Absolutely.
So I have, and I'm not just talking about him because he's here right now, but Corey, right? So he's extremely good at what he does with our social media, and I want nothing more for him than to grow. Mm-hmm. So however we can do it, I want to empower him to make sure that he's getting better. So I don't want him to feel like I'm suppressing him, saying, no, you can't do this, even though some of his ideas are fucking weird. But I want him to feel like he can go do those things and be happy. So when he comes in here, don't shake your head. They're weird. And but I want him to just be excited, right? Yeah. So I don't want him to come here and feel like, oh, fuck, here I have to go take a few pictures and post them and do this. Like, I want him to have like some of that. He goes and he's creating a little stand for the beer, and he's doing these and creating different images, but you can see it excites him. And I want to empower that. Like, hey, keep going with it.
Yep.
Keep doing that, and it's contagious, right?
Sure.
Negativity is contagious. Positivity is contagious, and if I can create a positive work environment, it's going to be contagious for everybody around us. And I didn't have that for 10 years when I first started here because me and my uncle were at each other's throats all the time.
Okay.
And I'd never want anyone to feel the way I felt for those 10 years.
That tension, that stress, yeah.
It's not conducive for the work environment.
Yeah.
But creating that environment, like I said, getting the right people is important. So how big's Whiskey Ben?
So we've got a flagship store in Lakeland, so it's about 4,000 square feet.
So it's big.
Yeah, so we carry
Do you carry Traegers?
Yeah. I was actually about to say we're the number one dealer in Florida, the number two dealer in the Southeast with Traeger. We carry Big Green Egg, and we carry Napoleon Gas and Charcoal. People want options,
Sure.
But we kind of figure out, we kind of go with the industry leader, in each of those categories and go with it. You know what I mean? And be supportive and be able to really be behind just one. A lot of these stores you go in and they'll have 4 different pellet models, and every friggin' ceramic that's made. And I'm like, no, man, I'm not. One, it chews you up cost wise. Right. And 2 is you got to believe in something, man. We're there to educate the customer, not just to say, hey, anything you want, we carry, but we don't know that we're the subject matter expert on any of it. No. My guys know all those grills backward and frontwards and can walk you through it, and that's what it's about. And then we carry about 125 different rubs, 75 different sauces, like I said, all open to taste, 16 different varieties of wood, about 115 accessories, a lot of thermopins. We saw a lot of ThermoWorks product. But that's also because my mantra in teaching is the day you quit cooking based on time, and start cooking based on internal temperature, you instantly become a better cook overnight. There's no doubt about it. You always got to know the time to budget it, but every animal's lived a different life. We got a couple of country club steers out there, but then you had some that were working, 3 jobs to get by, know. So every animal's lived a different life, so everything's going to finish at a little different temperature.
I think people can feel that too when they come into a store and know when it's relationship based.
Yeah.
Because your relationship with Traeger or Big Green Egg, you're so vested in them, they can feel that when they come in, so they trust you.
Yeah.
And your consumer has to have some type of trust in what you're giving them. So downstairs, when I'm talking to my consumers about beef, I let them know that I go to the packing houses every year. I travel to other packing houses to see if there's something better. I do that. Well, now they trust what I'm saying when I talk about my chicken. I've changed my chicken because of going to their place without them knowing and seeing how fucking disgusting it was.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can't give my
run that
consumer
salmonella, listeria risk, any of that stuff.
I mean, literally, chicken's just on the fucking floor dead. Other chickens pecking at it.
Yeah.
And they're not even doing anything about it.
Yeah.
I can't consciously be like, okay, guys, because I'm getting it 30 cents cheaper, I'm going to give it to you. It's not about that, right? Nope. It's not about that transactional thing. It's about giving the best product we know how to do our consumer.
Those people are trusting you with what they're going to feed their family. That's not anything you take lightly. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't know you had an open, so they can come in and open a jar of sauce.
Everything's open. So it's all, we actually use a wine cooler. We dump all the sauces into 12-ounce bottles. We clean them once a week. So that way all the sauce is cold and ready. All the rubs are opened up. We swap those out as need be. And, so I got sick of buying an $8 shaker of rub because the label was cool and it sounded good. And, get it home, open it up and taste it and be like, I always kept a Rubbermaid container that if a rub sucked, I just dumped it in there. And then when I had to do like a charity catering or something, I would just mix it all up, taste it, be like, yeah, it needs a little sugar, add in some turbinado sugar, and boom, it was and then people would go, man, this was excellent. What rub was that? I'm like, it's a long story, man. It's like, that's where rubs go to die.
Right.
But, you can freshen them up and it still turns out to be all right. But, and then we have another store in Dunedin. So right outside of Tampa, about an hour from our current store, with new franchisees that are just really great people. They've got a really good charity they're part of, Paul and Donnell. They're doing a great job, so we'll probably grow some more with them here over the next couple of years. But I mean, our plan is not to, we're having talks right now with a buddy of mine in Reno about opening one. Mm-hmm. So it's one of those things that we're going to keep the pedal to the metal and just kind of, but grow at a sustainable pace, right? You don't want to be, we don't want to be taking phone calls in the middle of a podcast. But we don't want to grow too quick. You know what I'm saying? Not every growth opportunity is the right one. So still protect it, still, not grow at a fact that we can't be there supporting the franchisees and the other folks. So, but it's a good place to be. I mean, we're really enjoying it.
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit before, but it's very important to not overextend yourself and not do something that's not in the best interest of your family and your brand.
Yep.
We were kind of touching on people get so excited because they have money thrown at them on something. And I'll just let people know money is the easiest thing to come by. It's the conceptually making sure things work is the hardest.
Yep.
Sean and I get pitched we've been given restaurants downtown. People are saying, I will give you my restaurant. I just want out. I want out of my lease, have everything in there. And we still say no.
Yeah.
Because it's just we're not putting our best foot forward. It's just because it's free and we have the money, it doesn't work. So, don't be so excited to grow. A great thing my buddy at Otay Mesa Sales, I'll give him a shout out, Chris Merziotis, told me 5 years ago. He said, so many people are excited when they get into business and they have a lemon tree, right? And they want fucking 10 lemon trees. But what they didn't do is take care of that one lemon tree and squeeze all the juice out of it.
Yep, and prune it and keep it healthy. Yep.
Exactly. So you can have one lemon tree giving you just as much juice as the 10 did because they're inefficiently ran. So make sure you take care of that one lemon tree and get all the juice out of it. Then you can go to 2. And it didn't strike home because 5 years ago I was thinking about opening another store. Now that I'm looking at doing it again, I'm so happy I didn't because I would have signed any fucking lease. Mm-hmm. I would have put myself in a horrible position.
Yep.
I had the money to do it, but it was just I wasn't
could have jeopardized this business.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I didn't squeeze. I wasn't squeezing this business. I wasn't getting all the lemon juice out of this business. And now getting all the lemon juice and making sure that we're running efficiently. Procedures are in place. Now my scalability is higher because I know what I can look for. So when I go to the next store, if my P&L is not right, whatever it is, I'll know. Back then, I was just a fucking young buck. I was like, fuck, I'll take on the world.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. But it's great to hear that you're actually taking that approach and knowing that it's you can't do it too fast. It's a recipe for disaster. Although it sounds amazing. And it's like, man, I would love to have 10 stores, even though my wife wouldn't. But it's good to hear that you're smart about it and being strategic, and it's gonna be the best thing for your brand and your family. We had a question from one of our followers was talking about that you like lollipop chicken, and why do you like lollipop chicken so much?
That's completely incorrect. Okay. Thank you, Aaron. So
bearded beast barbecue.
Bearded. Oh, okay. So, thank you. I don't like it. It's just a pain in the butt, man. Right. And for me, the hardest thing in competition is that chicken prep, and so it's like,
isn't it?
Yeah.
Scraping the fucking skin.
Yeah.
Dude, ugh.
So I've gotten lazy on that bit. I found if you take and pull the skins off and just jacquard them,
okay,
and then I use some meat glue to make it adhere to the skin,
right.
Or to the meat.
It works.
It takes your trim time in half.
Oh,
but
nice.
But the other thing about lollipops is just it's a lot of work for like a bite and a half.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm more of and that's one thing I love about the Traeger too is like the place where people light up is when they eat that first boneless, skinless chicken breast that isn't dry as hell from like a gas grill, right. And they're like, oh my god, yeah, this is why I need to be cooking on Traeger. You know what I mean? Like it's a big deal. And so, lollipops, not for me. Somebody else went to all the effort and they're cooked well. I'll eat your lollipops,
sure,
but I'm not, right. Don't expect to be finding 100 of them, from me anytime soon.
So much work. We have a competition in Spring Valley down the road and people do lollipop chicken and it's great. And the ambiance is awesome and it looks fantastic, but it's like, man, that's a lot of work for a few.
Wrapping all the tinfoil around the bones so they don't darken and all that.
We got Olav, who's one of our biggest listeners. We actually got him to start a podcast in Norway. He does a bunch of stuff with Traeger, but he wants to know when you're going to do a Traeger class out in Norway.
Man, I don't know. Whenever the powers to be say, hey, Chad, we need you to go to Norway, I would love to. Did a little bit of time in Europe back in my software days, but haven't had the opportunity to teach over there. Danielle usually does. BBQ does most of our classes in Europe and just crushes it over there. They love her to pieces. So, she's going to have a schedule conflict or something probably for me to get an opportunity because she's just done an amazing job over there and just owns it. And
she's awesome.
They love her to death. So
yeah, I know he said he can see the growth of Traeger out in Norway right now. He does a lot of stuff and he cooks on Traegers and just seeing the growth. He's just all in. He's excited about it.
That's, and you know what? And that's the one thing we're just so fortunate to have is the community of folks that are just love the brand, want to support the brand. When you've got guys coming to you saying, hey, Chad, my local Ace store, has Traeger. Like, do you think it'd be cool if I just went down there? Like, well, we got procedures we go through, but sure, man, let me get you hooked up with the territory, like Rory or the territory team, and let's see what we can do. But I mean, that's cool when people are so proud of the product that they want to go out and share it with others and try to get other people, cooking on Traeger because they know it can change the way they cook.
Brand ambassadors without being brand ambassadors.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
It's
and
awesome.
we've actually got a pretty significant ambassador program that's pretty aggressive. We like to take care of people that are interested in the brand or people that have a social media presence and want to cook on the brand.
Right.
But even too, we found, and I think this is interesting in social media, is it's not all a followers game. Mm-hmm. It's you can have a ton of followers and crap engagement. And what we really look for is the smaller accounts that are just posting about Traeger once a day.
Right.
And they're replying to every question. They're replying to every comment. So their engagement is off the chain. That's really what matters in social media is the engagement in the audience. If you don't have a captive audience and it's just they're getting followed because, 5 other people followed them and it's the cool thing to do, but no one's really paying attention to the content, what have you really gained?
Yeah, Ari Siegel, who was on our last podcast, who was the president of the San Diego Gulls. He's now the president of Immortals. It's an esports company, but he was talking about engagement, how people, their business models pretty much similar, where it's not about the quantity of, and they never once talk about outreach. What's our outreach, right? It's all about who's truly engaging. Yep. The engagement's what we want.
Yeah.
I don't care about my outreach. I'll take 5 engagements more than I'll care about how many people saw it, you know?
Yeah.
And that's important to make sure that when people do engage, that you're engaging with them, because that makes them come on to the Traeger team.
Well, and what I love, something I've been doing here recently is, if you're going to come into town, maybe, you don't have to come in a day early, but try to leave a night open to where you can go out and say, hey, I want to get, 6 Traeger ambassadors together, and let's just all go have dinner and have a drink and just get to know each other better besides, DMs, emails, and text messages. And people love it. You know what I mean? And heck, I'm already in town, and Traeger's fully supportive of us just getting the community closer and closer. So why not do those kind of things? So going to definitely try to do more of that as I continue to travel around and spread the good word.
Again, that's got to be something that's exciting to work for a company that wants you to do that.
Oh, for sure.
And it's pushing you. And what we talked about, it's like, man, having an environment that you're working at that wants you to do things like that is so conducive, and it makes you work even harder and want to support it even more.
Well, yeah. I mean, for me, not being based out of Salt Lake City, I try to be there, depending on other travel, at least every 3rd, at the most every 4th week. And the environment, man, it's just great. It's like that. It reminds me of, it's weird because it's a 30-year-old company, but it still has that very entrepreneurial type startup environment. You know what I mean? Like,
well, it kind of did restart itself.
Yeah, no, for sure.
4 years ago, like I said before that, it was, you can see it was kind of falling off, and it was getting lost, and with all the different knockoffs, I mean, you call it a knockoff, whatever you want to call it, Green Mountain Grills, whatever, they could see they were kind of taking part of that. But then when Traeger kind of got back in boots on the ground and kind of talking to the consumers, you can see it was almost like a new company coming up.
Yeah, no, for sure. It was a new company, but it was getting to be restarted on a very strong brand.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's just how you go out and capture the consumer and the community is what changed really 180 degrees.
Yeah,
and I mean, and just the small stuff. I mean, we release a recipe every day, and it's not a small feat. Our culinary team, Austin, Nicole, Marissa, Curtis, those guys just kill it. That's not a small feat. We'll do over 220 events as a company this year.
Jesus Christ.
So when you look at our events team, Amanda, Samantha, Kyle, Tim, those, that team, they're just always on the road, always, and then we get to come in and do the fun stuff, right? So I mean, they've been there for a day and a half, getting everything set up, making sure everything's perfect, and then me or Danielle or Matt or whoever it be, maybe John Dudley on the outdoor side, we get to kind of come in and, whether it be an event, a class, whatever, and just make it work. So, I mean, it takes so much to be able to do what we do as a brand, but everybody's having a great time doing it.
Well, speaking of John Dudley, I know you got a shout out on Joe Rogan too. That was
that one's. I remember my college roommate calls me up and he goes, "Hey, dude, I know you've done a lot of cool stuff in barbecue." He goes, "But you finally made it." And I go, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Have you listened to Rogan yesterday yet?" I said, "No." I said, it wasn't posted by the time I got on my flight, so I didn't have a chance to. And so he's like, "Dude, go to the 32-minute mark of 9:15." And I'm like, "All right." And I'm like, "Oh, shit, dude." And so what I hadn't really noticed it, but then I went and looked at my Instagram. I picked up like 2,500 followers in 24 hours.
Dude,
the Rogan effect is real. Dude.
It's no joke. It's no joke. I mean, I listen to his podcast. Yeah. every single one of them.
Oh, dude, you talk about
huge fan of what he
does.
How
can a guy know so much about everything? And he's never a know-it-all. Like, he's always learning from every guest, but like his breadth and depth of knowledge is like, I mean, he's got to be some sort of genius level. I mean, just the amount of stuff that he knows, but still, anybody I've ever talked to that interacts with him says there cannot be a nicer, more down-to-earth guy. Yeah, and he's always saying how he's not smart, but he's just like a parrot and can remember what people say. And I'm like, no, that you're brilliant, dude. Yeah,
it's what's good about him is that he bridges a lot of people. And
absolutely.
I feel. On a micro level, I try to do the same thing where it's, I don't care if you're black or if you're white. I don't care if you're what religion you are or whatever. And, if you're a Democrat or Republican or whatever you want to label yourself as, well, first off, get rid of your fucking labels, right? Let's all just come together.
Yeah.
But it's that bridge where you can kind of talk and you can see other people's points. A lot of people get so stuck and just like, oh, I'm over here. Yeah. And I'm not fucking moving and I'm not moving. Well, no one's going to do anything. But yeah, no, he's definitely opened my eyes on different subjects that I'm like, actually, I thought differently about that. Now it's actually kind of making me think, I was probably wrong.
Yeah.
And knowing that you're wrong is kind of vulnerable to accept that. But it's like, man, I'm okay with being wrong on that part.
Makes you a better person, absolutely.
Yeah.
And yeah, the cool one I posted on my Instagram account a couple months ago, he was talking to Dudley, and he said, yeah, man, I've been cooking my elk that Chad Ward method, that reverse sear. And I went, oh, dude, now that's... So I sent that over to my buddy, and I was like, hey, can we grab that 10-second sound clip? I really need to post that.
That's fucking rad. Let's talk about reverse searing.
Yeah. Actually, by the way, Joe's actually cooking on a Timberline 1300 now.
Nice. He got him off of his Yoder. He was a
Yoder guy. Yeah. And so, he was. I didn't do it. Dudley gets all the credit for that. But and John's been a great ambassador for us on the outdoor side.
Fuck yeah.
He's just so tops in his game as far as a professional outdoorsman and an archer, and
archery is
dude has
insane.
Oh man, I met him the first week I came on as an employee. They're like, Tyler Stark, who kind of runs our whole community outreach. He's like, hey man, I got this guy that's on the outdoor team. He's gonna be like an hour and a half away from you, and he wants to cook a hog on a 34. So literally, it was like putting in an order. Like the next day, I'm talking to Dudley, and he's like, so what do you need? I'm like, oh man, we probably need like a 65-pounder on hoof, like. We can take the head off, and it'll fit on there. And he's like, all right, that's what I'll go find.
Right. That's what I'll go find.
Yeah, 2 hours later, he sends me a picture of this. He goes, it's a little under. It's 63 and a half and on the scale. And I'm like, but just an amazing guy. And, I've learned a lot from John, from being his friend, but also watching what he's done with his knock-on brand and how he releases products and where does he get his inspiration for what products his community needs, and some of that stuff is really, really cool to me. So yeah, that's how I met John. Was we shook hands and cooked up a hog on a Pro 34. But he's so good about what he really just so many of these people get caught up on the hunting, and really I look at more of these guys like Rogan, like Dudley. They're hunters, but they're truly harvesters,
right? Because
they're gonna go maximize every piece of that animal to feed their family, their friends. Some of these big game hunts over in third world countries, that food feeds not a village, villages.
Yeah,
and you know what I mean.
That money that people use to go out there helps sustain their economy.
Absolutely, yeah. So to me, I've got to learn a lot about the whole hunting side of the world through these kind of friendships and partnerships at Traeger, and it's really been an eye opener for me.
Yeah, one of their friends is Steve Ranella, and big fan of his, and Meat Eater. I don't know if you've ever watched that, but it's great to see when people get so caught up about hunting, and I'm a avid hunter, and just educating them on what we do about sustainable hunting. Like I'm not out there just fucking shooting everything and drinking beer and throwing cans up and being wild. It's really about sustainability. And, I harvest moose and we'll put it in the freezer and my kids eat it, and it's the best thing for them. And we're not wasting stuff. And 2-3 years ago when we got a moose, the quarters, there was a town called Tok, Alaska, where we got it. It was about a week away from getting landlocked from their winter. They didn't have enough moose meat, so I gave them my 2 rounds and gave them, 60 pounds of meat for them to have and use. I mean, they were so thankful. Every time I go back there now, they all like the whole village of like 8 people comes out there. They're so happy to
for sure
to see you, and but it's those things. You're always making sure you're using all the meat. You're doing things right. I talked about it on this podcast before, but there was a time where I had a Boone and Crockett moose in my sight at about 500 yards, and I couldn't get him to turn fucking broadside, and he was with a cow, and I wanted nothing more than to take that shot, but I knew I didn't have a good enough shot to drop him right away, and it wasn't correct to take that shot. And I'm telling you, it still gets me every time I think about it, because it's like that would have been a top 5 Boone and Crockett in Alaska. That's huge. I mean, I measured his antlers, and but that's what you have to do. You have to make sure that you're doing it the right way. The last thing I want to do is injure an animal and have him walking around with a wound and just being suffering. The humane thing is to be able to drop him with a double lung shot, and he's doesn't even know what happened. It's gone. So we get a bad rap as hunters, but we're actually probably we probably love animals more than the average person.
I would completely agree.
But with reverse searing, we'll get back to our reverse searing. Is Traeger thinking about coming out with like a side box or anything, or have they any research and development on that?
It's not anything that we've looked at. I mean, for us, really, wood pellet's a big deal. What we're starting to see a lot of people do with this new product we just came out with called the Ranger. It's built for the outdoor portable grill industry, but a lot of barbecue folks are buying it and they're using that as their, because it'll get up 500 degrees.
Oh, wow.
You can get it piping hot, and it's a great little, for that final sear step. So we're seeing a lot of people do that. The product was just released 2 weeks ago. So, but it's the first thing a lot of the guys have done with it. But it's also great. It comes with a cast iron grate too. So like if you want to make breakfast in the morning, you get your cast iron skillet already built into the grill. So it makes it really nice that way. And if you want to barbecue or smoke, you just pull that out, put the traditional grate back in, and boom, you're off to the races. Throw it in the back of your truck. It's a pretty sweet little cooker.
What's your favorite thing to reverse sear?
Dude, I think it just gets back to 2-inch ribeye, man. Yeah. Like, keep it simple, nice, well-marbled ribeye. Yeah. 225 degrees for about 45 minutes to an hour. 2-inch, probably about an hour and 15. I usually go for about 115 in the middle. And then 500 degrees, about 2.5 minutes each side till it hits, for me, 128 to 130.
Yeah. Still milling.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, and then you get a couple of degrees carryover cook. So usually by the time I'm slicing into it, it's
135,
133, 134. Yeah.
that's we talk about doing the reverse here. We do a lot with tri-tip.
Oh yeah.
But some of the best steak I've ever had is a reverse seared 2-inch thick ribeye. Yep. It's there's not much better in the world than having it done right.
And people, when I talk to them in class about it, I always say, hey, have you ever had that steak where you cut into it and it's got that gray ring all the way around it? They're like, yeah. I'm like, cool, that's all the cellular structure you destroyed when you took that cold piece of meat and threw it on a 500, 600 degree fire. Right. People are like, whoa, really? And I'm like, believe it or not, that actually changes the flavor of it. And then once you let them taste the reverse sear, not many people go back to 4 minutes each side. You know what I mean?
What product are you using right now? Like, what if you had a go-to and you said, okay, I'm just going to cook for myself, but I want my ribeye to be the best ribeye I can get. Are you doing like a Snake River? Or are you going to do like a Wagyu?
I mean the ribeye is so rich. Like I can get away with prime, but there's nothing better than a Snake River Farms tomahawk on a special event. I mean, right. Come on, dude.
Yeah, we're huge proponents of that. We have an Akaushi program that we use, which is a red-hided Wagyu.
Yeah.
And they're absolutely phenomenal.
I cooked one of those last year. Me and Anella got crossed up on the shipment to get some briskets down to Tito's for an event we do down there every October. And so I ended up...
That must suck.
Yeah. Yeah. Big Tito's fan.
Yeah.
So I couldn't get a Snake River in time, so I ended up finding... one of those
Akaushi.
Akaushi. Oh my god, dude, it's an impressive brisket, man. They were delicious. Yeah, I was really impressed.
That's the brisket we use here. No. So when we cook brisket, we only cook briskets Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and we use the Akaushi briskets. Oh. And it's just, man, it's
people are getting a treat then, man. That's a nice piece of beef.
It's good stuff. We're again learning how to cook it to make sure that your temperatures, because it does cook a lot faster.
Yeah, and that's a couple things for the listeners too. It cooks faster, but it also requires a little higher finish temperature.
Yep.
Because you've got all that marbling that has to break down. I always tell the story, the first Wagyu brisket I ever cooked, Snake River, I cooked it just like I would cook a choice. And pulled that baby off like 198. Really wasn't cooking to tenderness back then.
Right.
And dude, I opened it up and I sliced it and I took a little piece off the end and I'm like, dude, this tastes like beef fat, like, and I remember I kind of looked at the brisket and I see, all these white striations of fat that haven't rendered. And I'm like, oh dude. So I wrapped it back up, I think I called Rub and Rub's like, I ain't cooked none of that expensive stuff. You can figure it out on your own. And, I cooked it another 8 degrees, probably got it up to that 207, 208. And, dude, it was money. And I mean, I tell the story too that, I had a brisket that when you really start cooking to feel, it's a lot different game. Like I won a contest with a brisket that went all the way to 217 internal, but it didn't break. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm sitting there going, well, one, is it going to get done before turn-in time? And two, it's maybe the driest piece of meat ever. And man, when I let it rest and sliced it. I mean, it was on the money. So I mean, it's just kind of learning that feel and getting comfortable with it.
Yeah, we've had briskets that I'm not kidding you, have been done around like 193, and we have had briskets that'll go all the way up to 215. And it's the same concept, and no animal's the same.
No,
you have to let them do their thing, and you don't know what he's doing, how much he's walking, and how much he's using his muscle. Just trust yourself, and once you can do that, but that comes with experience. You can't teach anybody that. You have to just go out and do it. Get off your ass. Just know that you're going to mess a few up.
And the way I always say to guys is, one of the biggest investments you should make after a Traeger is a food saver. Yeah. I mean that way, hey, if you've got that grill running, try a couple things, man. To me, a super easy tip is I'll take, if I do a big cook, I'll break it down into 1 pound packs, depending on the size of your family, between 1 pound or 2 pounds, vacuum seal it. What I'll usually do is I'll cook it that day, kind of slice it up or pull it, whatever. I'll let it sit in the fridge overnight so it kind of reabsorbs all those juices. Plus, it makes it easier to vacuum pack. And then, boom, I just vacuum pack it up. You've had a long day at work. You forgot to take it out of the freezer. Boiling water. Once it gets to a rolling boil, you put that 1 pound pack in. It's usually 10 to 12 minutes. Use a pair of tongs to fish it out of that boiling water. Cut it open. And I'll tell you what, I think it's more flavorful that way. There's something about that vacuum process that makes the smoke just a little bit deeper. That I love it that way. So that's a great way to be able to, man, I don't want to test cook because I don't want to eat brisket again. Well, dude, test cook it, taste it, figure it out, slice the rest of it up, and people love it as Christmas presents too. Believe it or not,
we put them in like beans, or you can put them in different things. And,
chili.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So you're never really wasting it. There's always an out for it. We're big proponents of doing that. Our beans that we do here, we do put our smoked pulled pork in, and all those little things are important to try and play with it, have fun with it.
And for you folks to get out here to Valley Farm Market, you got to get the magic beans. Like I'll post a picture of I don't think I've ever had a rider to come on a podcast, but I was like, all right, I will be more than happy to come on, but here's a couple of things I'm going to need before we get started. And it's only because it's so good. I get to travel all over the place, eat at a lot of cool places, but those beans, that poking, that tri-tip are just memorable. I remember it from my last trip here. I'll remember it till I come back the next time. So
I appreciate that, man.
You guys are doing great stuff here, and do things obviously that I always feel like part of the family when I show up here, man. You guys, hospitality second.
You are. So we're grateful that you took the time to come out here and shoot this shit with us, and it means a lot. I know you're a busy man, and we'll get out to Florida.
Yeah, for sure, man.
And at all these events that are going to be coming up.
And we stay active out here, man. Rory Taylor.
Rory's great, dude. Our
guy that runs the West Coast for Traeger. I mean, Rory's a hustler, man. He loves our customers, loves our dealers, and his team's great. And I've been out here a few times now this year, and just his team and the way the brand's growing out here in California specifically, man, is really cool. And while it's happening on the barbecue front, I mean, you start talking to a lot of these, watermen like Dwayne Diego and those guys, and they're all taking that fresh catch. And I mean, like literally last night, it was great to have Yellowtail freshly caught that day. They brought it back to us, ready, butchered up, ready to go. We had a little bit of Traeger chicken rub to it and threw it on, and 35 minutes later, dude, we had a hell of a meal.
No, it's definitely a movement out here for sure.
Yeah.
It's we're getting that. We're getting Yeti is a big movement right now where people are doing the coolers, and we're just happy to kind of be a part of it and making sure that.
And you're in the middle of it, right? You'll sell them all the stuff to put on the Traegers and in the coolers.
Yeah, exactly. And then we'll have to get you out. We have our Del Mar KCBS event. So Sean and I throw our amateur event. So it kind of helps people that are scared to get into the professional event. It gives them something to kind of shoot for. Then we have our Turf and Surf barbecue event in Del Mar. It's our 3rd annual one. We're excited about that, August 19th. So if you can't make it out this year, we'll get your ass out here next year.
I would love to next year. I'm actually going to do nine days in Mexico around that time. Actually scheduled some vacation time. So
where are you going?
Good. Cancun, one of the all-inclusives there.
Fuck yeah.
We went last year. Had a great, I grew up as a cruise ship kid because, being in Florida, you could, so I want to say went on like 22 cruises in my life, and went on our first all-inclusive last year, and it was like, whoa. And that's one of those, dude, it's kind of like the Primer Wagyu. Like, pay for the upgrade, like, pay for the nicer resort, like, even if it, takes you an extra month or so to save up for it, like, that's what you want to do, because when you do, man, it's first. Cause you're kind of spoiled at that point. There's no going back.
Yeah, my wife and I, we didn't. Our vacation time was, she's from Indiana, so it was always like going back to see her family.
Yep.
And going back to see your family, God bless them, they're great, but it's a lot of work.
Indiana's beautiful that time of year.
Yeah, right. But everyone's like, I want you to come over here. Or I want you to go over here. I want to see the grandkids. I want to do this.
And you're like, God, we never had vacation.
Right. And then we went to Jamaica to a sandals resort and all inclusive, and we paid the extra money for the nice room and everything. And it was like, holy fuck, this is what a vacation is.
You can do as much or as little as you want to.
I would wake up and I'm like, I was like, well, what do you want to do today? I'm like, whatever. Like, I don't fucking know. This is great. At first it was hard because I was like, my phone with work. And I put it away. I'd go sit. I'd roll my fat ass into the pool, swim up and grab a beer, go back out. And then I'm like, oh, feel hungry. Go eat. Like, whatever it is. It was like,
take a nap.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome, man.
Yeah, no, the first thing, I've gotten better about it because I'm kind of like you, man. I always want to stay connected. When I do that, I give myself an hour a day, and I either pick it in the morning or in the evening, whatever. But the other 23 hours, dude, that thing goes in the safe and, unlock it for the next time. I mean, when you run really hard, you got to have those times where you just kind of shut it down and kind of recharge the batteries and go back at it. And I talk that really good game. I just need to do a better job of it, But no, I'm definitely committed to this vacation. That's what I'm going to do because it's just beautiful out there, and it's just nice, like I said, to do as much or as little as you want.
Yeah, we do a trip every year to my cabin in Alaska, and it's the first 2 days are rough because I don't have my phone, and then being out, we take a backpack on 14 days with tents and go for our moose hunt. Yeah, and it's I've never felt more alive than I do when I'm out there. Whether it's going and chopping down wood, tending to the fire, whatever we have going on, making food, hunting, very primal. We're getting low bush cranberries and blueberries and picking them for the pancakes in the morning. Every little thing but I get to escape. Yep. All this instant, gratification. Everything's so instant here. Yep. Out there, it's not, but it's, man, there's something about that. It just, if
you didn't worry about not getting enough likes in the first hour on the picture you posted.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's
not really a big deal when you're trying to find wood to stay warm at night.
Yeah. I think everyone that's like Chatterai, that's, go. I think it's important to make sure you can decompress a little bit. And go do those things. But Chad, thank you again so much for coming out. We're going to continue eating here. And for all the listeners, thank you. We're going to give a social shout out to, Derek Dawson, one of our good friends who is always just doing an amazing job helping us out with Behind the Smoke. He's also put together a Behind the Smoke group where we go out and we try food for the different places for the people that we have on the podcast. Derek was the one that headed that. He's got a new smoker now. He's smoking all the time coming in. He just had some Snake River Farm stuff that he was cooking up. But Derek, we appreciate you. Thank you. I mean, I'm sure you already have a mug, but we'll give you another mug and some hat and some gear. And to all of our listeners, man, I know Sean's not here today, but we miss him a lot. But thank you guys for all that you do. We can't tell you how humbled we are by the responses that we get and by everyone reaching out. And if there's anything that we can ever do, please let us know. How can people get a hold of you?
I'll tell you what, you can reach out to me anytime on Instagram, Whiskey Mint BBQ. And I kind of feel if you take 10 seconds to send me a message, regardless how busy I am, I can take 10 seconds to reply back. So if you don't hear back from me for some reason, bump it up to the top of my inbox, and I promise you I'll get back with you. But yeah, you can follow us there, and then obviously at the store, WhiskeyMintBBQSupply.com, and then obviously Traeger, you can go to TraegerGrills.com and check it out there. And then obviously follow us on social media. I mean, we've got 5 accounts on Instagram. 3 of them are the markets that we actively market to, which is Traeger BBQ, Traeger Outdoors, Traeger Culinary. Our recipes released every day on Traeger Recipes. And
one new recipe every day.
One new recipe every day. Yeah, and our database on the website at Traeger Grills is like 1,300 recipes right now. So I mean, if you can think about it, we probably got one out there that's ready for you. So just keep following us. We got a lot of fun stuff in the works, and appreciate everybody's support. We wouldn't be here without all the people that are supportive of the brand. So thank you for what you guys do.
Happy 4th of July, guys.
Hey guys, this is Sean and Derek, and we just really want to thank you for listening to the podcast. It means the world to us. We'd like you to go check out BehindTheSmokeMedia.com. That's our website where we have barbecue resources for you to help build your barbecue business. We also have events listed, so anything that's happening in the West Coast barbecue movement, anything that's going on We want you to go check that out so you can learn more and get involved. We also have show notes from all the episodes. So anything we talked about in the episodes, you can find detailed show notes there. Plus, you can just get in touch with us. It's important that we're here as a resource for you. So please reach out. Let us know how Derek and I can help you with your barbecue journey. Get involved, stay curious, and follow us on social at Barbecue War Stories. We'll talk to you soon.